I just got to the Realm of Shadow early, without having to roll or block a single boss attack. The only main bosses I have fought in the base game are Radahn and Mohg. Every other Remembrance boss and Mohg are still alive. And I did this all with the Corian Knight armor, 1 talisman slot and 20 vigor. Here's how to do it. Jumping into the Shadow Realm and coming back to fight Mohg with a maxed out DLC build is a ton of fun. But if you're not that experienced in the game, it's easier said than done. So what if you absolutely suck at Elden Ring, but you still want to get to the DLC early and make a ludicrously OP build with the cool new weapon? To find out, I set myself a challenge. Get to the DLC while completing as little of the base game as possible, while not doing anything that a very inexperienced player couldn't do. So no rolling, blocking, or any complicated stamina management. So to get started, I followed my standard setup guide to grab all of the early stones, and more importantly for the start of this run, the flask upgrades. The setup doesn't contain anything even a brand new player couldn't do, although I did avoid the Celia Crystal Tunnel for this run. After the setup, time for some bits. First stop, Weeping Peninsula. The merchant at Castle Morn Rampart sells kukris, so pop the Golden Rune 6 from the setup and buy as many as you can. Then ride south, keeping to your left to find a forest where you'll find this little fella. Throw a kukri at him to get the poison mist spell. Now for a trip to the beach. We're heading to the nomadic merchant on the beach west of the Church of Ella to buy a broadsword, a bow, and some arrows. Now to Lenna's Rise in Caelid. The method that I usually use for cheesing the cavalry has become less consistent over time if you don't have fast quit-outs. And since we're not allowed to do anything a novice couldn't do, ride past him and to the other side of the bridge to quit out there instead. So for a slightly more reliable cheese, we're going to chuck kukris on the ground next to him to lure him onto this big branch on the right. So leave a trail of kukri breadcrumbs for him, then chuck them at the highest point of that branch. I have the bow equipped that I'm using to aim here, and the kukris equipped in my item slot in order to throw them. Now if you did the setup guide, you'll already have the golden pickled fowlfoot from the cliff by Argyll Lake. But if you're doing an early DLC run, you might want 2. So head to the first step and jump down the Spirit Spring for another, which I'd advise you use on Mohg later on. Now back to Fort Varre in Caelid to kill the big dragon with the Morning Star, but don't use the bleed grease. We're keeping that for later. After Grail, because we need all the runes that we can get on this run, head to the Divine Tower and round to the leftmost side to grab the Newman's rune. Back to the round table now for a seal and a dagger. Now the talisman that I want to get to the Shadow Realm early is in Leyndell, so we need to kill the Tree Sentinel. Allocate all your flasks to blue and start making your way to him. And while there are a couple of good cheeses for this fight that involve parries and staggering him at the right moment, that seems a little complicated for this run, so simply run behind him and quit out. When you load back in, go into Solid Snake mode, equip the seal, and cast... Oh bollocks. Go into Solid Snake mode, equip the seal, and cast Poison Mist. Now it's just a case of putting the kettle on while making sure you top him up with poison every now and then. When he's dead, we can get in. I know you probably think I did this for dramatic effect, but this is like the 4th time I've cheesed this boss for a run whilst forgetting that this fucking seal was here. So no Leyndell then. And because of that, we're going to need more runes. So head to the dragon on the bridge in northeast Caelid. There's a bunch of different methods for cheesing this guy, but the most consistent is baiting him north towards the Grace, hiding behind this tree to keep you safe from his attacks, then jumping on the bridge the minute you see him start flying. He'll land on the tree, then eventually fall off, getting stuck in the falling animation and dying. Another boss that you can cheese with the old stealth and poison mist trick is Commander O'Neill. Sneak up behind him and start spamming it. However, this guy has more health than the tree sentinel and doesn't drop that many runes at all, so I wouldn't bother with this. It makes no difference to the rest of the run whether you do it or not. Right, time for our first fight. So up to Fort Gale to grab Flame Grant Me Strength. Then to Mount Gelmir to grab the Golden Vow incantation. Now back to the Church of Pilgrimage in Weeping Peninsula and drop down the cliffs to the southeast to grab the Faith Tear. We want this to use Golden Vow at a lower level. Now to grab our weapon for the run, Bloodhound's Fang. Put your faith and strength tiers in the physic. When you're in the arena, drink your physic, cast Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, and two-hand your broadsword. 2 square offs on the Bloodhound will stagger, another one as he does, then a single R1 to kill. And if you mess up, don't worry about getting hit. Even tanking all of his worst combo still won't kill you. Now we have our Mohg killing weapon, level it up to +6 at EG in Liurnia. And because +6 isn't going to get us to the DLC easily, head to the Ball Prawn Shack and ride east towards Stormvale Castle, past the ruins, to find Raya in the gazebo. Walk back to the Ball Prawn Shack and buy her necklace from Boggart. Take it back to her, then meet her at the Grand Lift of Dectus to get to Volcano Manor quickly. And now it's time to kill Noble, and I'm not allowed to run in and start parrying him for once. So back to Limgrave, riding south from the Third Church of Marika, stopping at the Minor Erdtree for the Spike Crack Tear, then southwest to the Mistwood Ruins for the Axe Talisman. Head to Carley at the Church of Valor to buy the 3 crack pots and the crafting kit. Now to the village of the Albinaurics just in case you need any more sleep pot materials. There's mushrooms up on the hill by the Grace, and a load of St. Trina's lilies by the tree in the lake below. So sleep pots crafted, faith tier and spike crack tier in your physic. Head into the arena. So in the aisle, there are 2 piles of broken candle holders on the floor. Around the second one, where I'm pointing to here, that's where the spawn trigger for the boss is. So as long as you stay behind the 3rd row of benches, you'll be safe. So we're going to kill the boss with sleep pots, and you can just run in and wing it and chuck them at him during the fight. Or there are a load of different setups that challenge runners use for doing it consistently at the start. What I wanted though was an utterly idiot-proof method that's easy to set up. So first get in this position, directly between the first two pillars in the room. You can use the helm of the Carian Knight set to make sure you're lined up with both columns and aiming dead ahead where the boss will spawn. From this position, aim your camera as far up as possible and throw a sleep pot. As soon as the pot leaves your hand, sprint forward to activate the boss and watch him spawn in the middle of the sleep mist and go straight to sleep. Now you've got plenty of time to drink your physic and buff up with Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength. Now this couldn't be simpler. 2 charged R2s will stagger him, then take the riposte. As soon as you can after the riposte, throw another sleep pot and walk backward slightly to avoid the AoE. 2 more charges will kill him, but feel free to be fancy if you like. Run through the rest of the dungeon. Through the Stone Sword Key Gate and all the way down to the bottom to grab the Somber 7 on the ledge. Next on our shopping list is the Purifying Tear. We need to complete Yura's questline to grab it. So speak to him under the Fallen Ruins by Argyll Lake, then head out into the lake to fight Argyll. Now we have a +9 Bloodhound's Fang, so if you know how to fight dragons then great. If not, spam R1 like this, or you can even ride around on Torrent spamming R1 for maximum safety. Now head into the river to the northeast for Neregus. The rule for NPC enemies when you have Bloodhound's Fang is use the weapon art every time they're in range. Speak to Yura just to the north. Now into Raya Lucaria and onto the bridge to find the summon sign. Now for a demonstration of why I don't make PvP content. Speak to Yura afterwards and he'll tell you about Eleonora. So now we head to the second church of Marika in the Altus Plateau to find the dying Yura and get invaded. And again, just spam the weapon art and you'll be fine. Okay, new plan. So Eleonora is an NPC invader that they've put right next to a big cliff. So bait her out of the building, get to this little break in the rocks, then you want to... she's already fallen off. I hope this demonstrates how easy it is to get NPCs to fall off cliffs in this game. I was going to point out that there's a bunch of safe spots along this drop where you can fall safely and she'll fall trying to get to you. So now we've made as much progress as we can without fighting a Remembrance boss, it's time for Radahn. Now there's 2 options here. Radahn's arena is full of summons, and we have a +9 Bloodhound's Fang. So I'm 100% confident that absolutely everyone is capable of riding around on Torrent, summoning all of the NPCs, and getting in a cheeky attack every so often, and beating him. So because of that, let me show you the nerdy approach, which requires little skill, but a bit of knowledge. As soon as you take the teleporter, while the loading screen's happening, you want to be holding sprint backwards and spamming torrent to get the earliest mount and the most distance. Doing this will mean he will despawn before he fires the first arrow. Once he's despawned, he will not respawn until we go past this pile of weapons you see here. When you're ready, we're going to ride forward and get right in the middle of these two piles. Here you're going to jump off torrent and start buffing with Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, refilling your FP, two-handing your weapon. You want to do all of this while standing still and letting Radahn come to you. Don't worry, you've got time to fuck this up a bit. I deliberately stand here for that reason. Radahn has two openers that he will approach you with. A jumping slam, and the more common lunging attack where he draws his swords by his waist with a roar before coming in with a big combo. This second option is the one that we want. His positioning here is a fairly reliable indicator of which attack's coming. If it's the good attack, he'll usually start it before the brow of the hill. So the fact that we can see his feet now mean that we've got bad RNG and he's going to do the jump. But it's fine. Simply run backwards and then 90% of the time he'll give you the good attack straight after. As soon as you see the animation start, run towards him. As long as you're quick enough, there is no need to dodge, and hit him with a chargey as he starts the attack. As soon as the chargey finishes, you want to position yourself directly under him. As soon as you are under him, hit him with a full 2-part charged combo. The second your attack animation finishes, you're going to run round to the left to avoid the next attack and start another chargey. Now I'm going to pause it here as this is the most important part in the Radahn fight. He's about to do this attack, the pull followed by a slow slam. He'll always do this at this point in the fight. From our position here, if we finished our attack and walked to the left, we'd avoid the pull attack, get a small attack opportunity, and this would cancel the big slam. However, if we did that, he'd now go straight into phase 2, and we want to keep him in phase 1. If you're in front of him after the pull, he'll do the follow-up. If you get hit by the pull, the game will assume you're in front of him and he'll do the follow-up. In all of my runs, you'll see me roll right here to iframe the pull and bait the follow-up. But as we're not dodging, just ignore the fact he's doing it and go for another chargey. Walk to the back of Leonard to be safe from the follow-up slam's AoE, and another chargey on the horse will break his posture. He's dead now, no matter what attacks you do. So run backwards if you get the bad attack, wait for the good attack, sprint in for a chargey. Get under him, double chargey, then immediately walk to the left. From here, spam chargeys and you're done. Use his remembrance and head back to the round table to talk to the two fingers. Then start heading to the Rose Church in Leyndell to start Varre's questline. The easiest way of doing the first part of the questline is just doing 3 online invasions. You don't have to win them, just start them. I, however, have so many mods in my game folder that I think From Software would ban me twice if I connected to the servers. So I headed to the alternative, which is invading Magnus at the Writhe Blood Ruins in Altus, and doing this without dodging should be fine. Happily, much like the online invasions, the outcome doesn't matter. As long as you attempt the fight 3 times, you can continue the questline. Grab the favour from Varre and head either to northern Liurnia for the dead Finger Maiden in the Frenzied Church by Vike, or if you're in a hurry, kill Irina in Weeping Peninsula and return to Varre to complete the questline. The reward for the questline is the Pure Blood Knight's Medal, which transports you to Mohgwyn's Palace. There's a bunch of cool runes you can pick up in the Blood River, but I'd suggest that they're probably best kept for leveling weapons later on, as our levels on this character aren't too important now. Grab the Lord's Rune as you run through the cave, and it's up to RNG how far the Blood Knights will chase you. Happily, even if you do have really bad luck like me, they do leash at the exit door. Unless you're trying to make a YouTube video, in which case 2 of them somehow chase you out. Use either the bow or your helmet to line up with this pillar and chuck a kukri at it to distract these nerds so you can run to the Somber 10 in the chest. And here we are. Run into the Mohg arena, buff up, and here's how to kill Mohg without dodging.
Is mine and mine alone.
Okay, Leyndell. There are 2 unofficial ways of getting to Leyndell without killing 2 Remembrance bosses first. For the first method, we'd need the Exploding Crystal Tear from the Avatar in southern Liurnia. He does a ton of poise damage, so tanking and spamming won't work. However, if we sneak up on him, we have the damage to kill him before he attacks. Let's try directly behind him. Nope. So back to the War Master's shack in Limgrave to kill Banal. Speaking to Tanith at Volcano Manor before handing in his bell bearing at the Round Table coffee shop will enable you to buy Assassin's Gambit. This reduces the enemy detection range and all of your movement sounds. And it still doesn't work with this fucking avatar. He spots you no matter what. Now at this point I must stress that even the most casual of casual players could kill the avatar with a maxed out Bloodhound's Fang with panic rolling and R1 spamming. They could equally blast through either Rhea Lucaria or Stormveil, killing either Renala or Godric and unlocking Leyndell in the intended way. However, if you just absolutely love being mischievous and doing things you're not meant to, head to the Tower of Return to the very south of Weeping Peninsula. On the top of the tower, you'll find a chest which transports you to an isolated section of Leyndell that shouldn't be able to get you into the Legacy Dungeon. However, open your map, warp to the Round Table and force close your game as the loading screen hits 100%, and run through Leyndell as usual, picking up as much as you like along the way. There's a ton of golden runes around the city that would be helpful but not necessary for an early DLC run. Assassin's Gambit really is an asset for almost every part of the game, so I would definitely pick it up regardless of its uselessness with the tree avatar. Light the Avenue balcony grace, then down towards the well to access the Shunning Grounds. And when I was planning this run out mentally, there was only one section I was actually concerned about. This bloody lobster. However, on my very first attempt, something surprising happened. Behind where the giant crustacean wakes up from, you'll find Mohg's shackle, the most important item that we're here for. For our single talisman, head through the door next to it and into the Leyndell catacombs to get lost for a bit. This dungeon is pretty dangerous, but again, Assassin's Gambit carries us through. Either completely avoiding aggroing enemies or aggroing them so late that they don't pose any real threat. So the boss of this catacombs is one of the most annoying in the game. There's a built-in safety mechanic in going in here with the beast repellent torch, and even a cheese you can do without actually being in the room. However, with a plus 10 Bloodhound's Fang, just walk into the arena and do not move. The dogs won't aggro, but Blood Gideon will. And as soon as he's about to be in range, weapon up. One more hit will kill. So now for Mohg. Make a save file here, as the blood grease is a big help and this method won't work without it. Now there are hundreds of ways of script killing Mohg, dozens upon dozens with this specific weapon. There's even ways of scripting him on level 1 characters with Bloodhound's Fang. But what I wanted here was absolute simplicity. A method that required the least things to remember before and the least amount of thinking during the fight. And after a couple of hours of script killing Mohg, here's what I come up with. The following method works by buffing either outside or inside the arena, although you have plenty of time to buff inside. Fuck-ups included, obviously. Buff with Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, drink your blue flask, apply bleed grease, two-hand your weapon, I repeat, two-hand your weapon, and switch to Mohg's Shackle in your item slot. We're going to use the Shackle as soon as Mohg gets anywhere near us, then run at him with a jumping R1. This first Shackle is purely so we have a consistent way of getting to him. Now wait until he gets up. The Shackle will only work if it hits the ground when he's standing, so don't go too early. When the second Shackle activates, spam R1 while holding 2 o'clock on your controller. All you have to do now is watch the health bar. You want it just above 50%, which will take 7 R1s after that second Shackle. We can afford to get hit by one of his swipes, but not both. So at some point in this string of attacks, take a small break to move to the right. Watching the health bar or counting out 7 hits is all that matters. The final hit will almost always coincide with his second cast, where you will see the word duo on the screen. Wait for him to be out of the animation before hitting L2 to stagger with the weapon art. A lot of scripts now call for the weapon art follow-up, but if you've managed your stamina badly, you won't be able to, so simply walk up to him for the riposte. I tested this script for about an hour just to check that I never missed this riposte, and I didn't once, even when deliberately trying to be completely out of stamina here. Take the riposte, move to the right as he stands up, and spam R1 for the kill. He will always be dead before he gets to the first cast of Nihil. And that does beg the question of, what's the point of getting the Purifying Tear if we don't need it and could have more damage instead? And while there's an argument to say that we don't need more damage, the real reason is this. Say you forget to make a save file and mess up the script twice somehow and don't have the bleed grease anymore. With the Purifying Tear, you can do this script and just continue spamming R1s to get a second stagger right after Nihil, just by hitting him with a couple of weapon arts. Meaning that If absolutely everything goes wrong, this is still doable with very little knowledge of the fight. Without the Purifying Tear, you'd still need to no-hit Mohg's entire phase 2. So do all your buffs inside or outside the arena. Use the shackle as soon as he's anywhere near you, straight into a running, jumping R1. Use the shackle when he's standing, then 7 R1s, making sure you reposition to the right somewhere along that string. As soon as he finishes the duo cast animation, L2. Walk up to him for the riposte. Get to the right of him, spam R1. And that's it. How to get to Shadow of the Erdtree early with absolutely no skill in the game. And more importantly, how to make an Elden Ring YouTube video without parrying.